Okay.
Welcome to Yonnie Unfiltered, the podcast where we stop sugarcoating, stop settling, and start leveling up. I am your host, Yonnie Unfiltered, and I'm here today with my baby. What's your name?
I'll be reading.
Okay, you hear him? That's my baby. Yes, so we are here with Yonnie Unfiltered. What are we doing today, Rashawn?
Another day, say.
Oh, okay, so we are going to have a good time. We are going to talk about things that affect people
I
and
was
when
tired.
they're scared of speaking out. Okay, Rashawn?
Okay, I will start it.
Right, so are you ready?
So ready.
Let's go in five, four,
4,
three,
2,
two, one. Let's go!
Let's talk about one of the most frustrating behaviors you can experience in a relationship: being blamed for everything. Some people never take responsibility for their actions. No matter what happens, somehow the problem always becomes your fault. Today on Yonnie Unfiltered, we're talking about what happens when someone refuses to take accountability, because this behavior can slowly destroy your peace, your confidence, and your mental health. And many people don't realize they are experiencing it until they are already emotionally exhausted. Explanation. Accountability is a sign of emotional maturity. Mature people understand that everyone makes mistakes, but immature or manipulative people often avoid responsibility at all costs. Instead of admitting their behavior, they redirect the conversation. Examples: blaming you, changing the subject, minimizing the issue. Let's listen an example of what this behavior can look like. Did you notice what happened there? Instead of addressing the issue, the person immediately shifted the blame. This is a very common manipulation tactic. It allows the person to avoid responsibility while making the other person question themselves. Gaslighting. Explanation. Sometimes this behavior goes even further. It turns into something called gaslighting. Explain clearly. Gaslighting happens when someone tries to make you question your memory, perception, or understanding of events. Examples: that never happened. You're overreacting. You're imagining things. Real life example. Imagine confronting someone about something that hurt you. Instead of listening, they respond by saying, "Why are you always complaining?" Or, "You're too sensitive." Suddenly, the conversation shifts from their behavior to your reaction. And this is how accountability disappears. Important lesson. Healthy relationships require responsibility from both people. That means being able to say, "I was wrong. I should have handled that better. I apologize." If someone cannot say those words, the relationship will always feel unbalanced. Closing message. Accountability is not about perfection. It's about growth. People who take responsibility grow. People who avoid responsibility repeat the same behavior over and over again. So the next time someone refuses to take accountability, ask yourself a simple question. Are they willing to grow, or are they committed to staying the same? Finish. If this conversation resonated with you, like, share, and subscribe to Yonnie Unfiltered. And let me know in the comments. Have you ever dealt with someone who could never admit they were wrong? Scenario 1. I said sorry, but nothing changed. Let me tell you about Danielle. Danielle had been with Marcus for 6 years. 6 long years of believing that love meant patience, forgiveness, and giving people the benefit of the doubt. One night, Marcus didn't come home. His phone went straight to voicemail. Danielle stayed up until 3 a.m., sitting on the couch, staring at the door. When he finally walked in the next morning, Danielle didn't yell. She didn't scream. She simply asked him one question. Where were you? Marcus sighed, like he was tired of the conversation, before it even started. Why are you always interrogating me? Danielle blinked slowly. Marcus, you didn't come home. I was worried. Instead of explaining, instead of acknowledging the fear he caused, Marcus rolled his eyes. You always make everything a big deal. I said I'm sorry, didn't I? But Danielle realized something in that moment. He didn't actually apologize. He just wanted the conversation to end. And when someone refuses to take accountability, they don't fix the problem. They just silence the person who was hurt. Scenario 2. You made me do it. There was a woman named Keisha. Keisha loved deeply. The kind of love where you defend someone, even when your friends start noticing things you don't want to see. Her partner, Andre, had a habit of disrespecting her in public. Small things at first. Little jokes about her, in front of friends. Then one night at dinner, Andre said something that made the entire table go silent. Keisha's just emotional. You know how women are. The table laughed, awkwardly, but Keisha didn't. When they got in the car later, she quietly said, Andre, that hurt me. Andre didn't apologize. Instead, he laughed. If you weren't so sensitive, I wouldn't have to say things like that. Keisha sat there quietly, because in that moment, she realized something painful. He didn't just refuse accountability. He blamed her for the disrespect he chose. Caller story 1. He said, I was the problem. All right, everyone. I want you to listen carefully to this story. A woman reached out and told me something that really stayed with me. Her name is Alicia. Alicia had been married for 8 years. 8 years of building a home, raising children, and believing she was in a partnership. One night, she discovered messages on her husband's phone. Messages that made her heart drop into her stomach. Another woman. So Alicia did something many people would do. She didn't scream. She didn't throw the phone. She sat down beside him and said quietly, Can we talk about this? But instead of honesty, instead of accountability, he looked at her and said something that shattered her. He said, If you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have needed to talk to someone else. Imagine hearing that. Imagine discovering betrayal and somehow being told that you caused it. Alicia told me the hardest part wasn't the cheating. The hardest part was realizing that the person who hurt her most refused to even acknowledge the pain they caused. That's what happens when someone refuses accountability. They turn your pain into your fault.
Caller story 2. The parent who would never apologize. Another message I received came from a young man named Terrence. Terrence grew up in a household where mistakes were never admitted. His father believed something very dangerous, that parents should never apologize to their children. Terrence told me about a moment that still affects him today. When he was 15 years old, his father accused him of stealing money from the house. Terrence tried to explain that he didn't take it, but his father didn't want to hear it. He yelled. He punished him. He told the entire family that Terrence had betrayed their trust. 2 days later, they found the money. His younger cousin had taken it. Terrence thought finally, his father would come to him and say those 2 simple words, I'm sorry. But that moment never came. Instead, his father said something else. Well, you shouldn't have looked suspicious. Terrence told me something heartbreaking. He said, it wasn't the accusation that hurt the most, it was knowing my father would rather protect his pride than repair our relationship. That's the damage accountability avoids. It protects the ego, but breaks the bond.
Caller Story 3. The Friend Who Disappeared. I want to share one more story. A woman named Natalie wrote in about a friendship that ended in a way she never expected. Natalie and her friend Jasmine had been inseparable for years. They supported each other through breakups, job losses, and life struggles. But one day, Jasmine shared something deeply personal about Natalie with other people. Something Natalie trusted her with. When Natalie found out, she didn't attack her. She simply asked, "Why would you tell people that?" Jasmine's response shocked her. "You're being dramatic. It's not even that serious." Natalie tried again. "It mattered to me. I trusted you." But Jasmine refused accountability. Instead of acknowledging the betrayal, she distanced herself. Eventually, the friendship faded away. Natalie told me something that stayed with me. She said, "I could have forgiven the mistake, but I couldn't forgive the denial of it." The accountability verdict. Segment introduction. All right, everyone. It's time for a segment I call the accountability verdict. In this segment, I'm going to present a real lifestyle scenario. No sugarcoating, no excuses. Then I want you, the audience, to decide, is this person truly accountable, or are they avoiding responsibility? Think of it like a courtroom. I present the case. You listen to the evidence, and at the end, you give the verdict. Let's get into today's case. Case scenario. The missed opportunity. Case file, #1. Marcus and Danielle had been together for 3 years. Danielle had always supported Marcus's dreams. When he wanted to start a business, she worked extra shifts to help pay bills. When he doubted himself, she encouraged him. But Marcus had one problem. He struggled with taking accountability. Every time something went wrong in his life, someone else was responsible. If he was late for work, it was traffic. If he forgot something important, it was because someone didn't remind him. And when his business began to struggle, Marcus blamed everything except his own choices. He blamed the economy. He blamed his customers. He even blamed Danielle. One night, Danielle sat him down. She said calmly, "Marcus, I love you, but every time something goes wrong, you blame someone else. At some point, you have to look at your own decisions." Marcus became defensive. "Why are you always attacking me? You act like everything is my fault." Danielle looked at him with exhaustion in her eyes. "I'm not saying everything is your fault. I'm saying you never admit when something actually is." Weeks later, Marcus's business collapsed. Instead of reflecting on his decisions, Marcus told everyone the same story. "People didn't support me the way they should have." That was the narrative he repeated. But Danielle knew the truth. The problem wasn't the lack of support. The problem was the lack of accountability. And eventually, Danielle walked away, not because Marcus failed, but because he refused to own it. Host reflection. Your commentary. Let's pause here. Because this situation happens more often than people want to admit, failure is not what destroys relationships. Refusing to take accountability does. Marcus didn't lose Danielle because he struggled. He lost Danielle because he refused to grow. Verdict. Conclusion. All right. The jury has heard the case. We've looked at the situation. We've listened to the evidence. And now it's time for the verdict. In the case of Marcus versus accountability, the verdict is guilty of avoiding accountability, not because Marcus failed, not because his business struggled, But because when things fell apart, he refused to look in the mirror. And here's the hard truth. Failure is something most people can forgive. Mistakes are something most people can understand. But what people struggle to tolerate is someone who refuses to own their part. Danielle didn't leave Marcus because life got hard. She left because every time life got hard, Marcus found someone else to blame. And accountability matters because growth can't happen without it. You cannot fix what you refuse to admit. So the real question for everyone listening tonight is this. In the courtroom of your own life, are you taking accountability for your choices? Or are you still trying to convince the jury that everyone else is responsible? Because at the end of the day, the truth always finds its way to the verdict. Before we close today's conversation, I want to leave you with something to think about. Accountability is one of the most uncomfortable things a person can practice because accountability requires honesty, and honesty requires humility. It means looking at your own decisions and saying, maybe I could have handled that better. It means admitting when your words hurt someone. It means recognizing when your actions caused damage. But here's the part people don't always realize. Avoiding accountability might protect your ego for a moment, but it destroys trust over time. People can forgive mistakes. People can forgive failure. But what people struggle to forgive is someone who refuses to take responsibility for the impact they've had. So the real question isn't whether you've made mistakes, because everyone has. The real question is, when the moment comes, are you willing to own it? Because growth doesn't start with perfection. Growth starts with accountability. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If today's conversation made you think, reflect, or even see something differently in your own life, then this episode did exactly what it was meant to do. And I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with someone who refused to take accountability? Or maybe you've had a moment where you had to look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going. And if you enjoyed this discussion, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. Because sometimes the conversations that make us uncomfortable are the ones that help us grow the most. Until next time, this is Yonnie Unfiltered. And remember, the truth might be uncomfortable, but it's always worth hearing.
Unfiltered energy. Say it, I was meant to be. Truth hits differently. Level up mentally. Unfiltered energy. No mask, just clarity. Talk money, talk love, talk growth, that's therapy. Unfiltered energy. No mask, just clarity. Talk money, talk love, talk growth, that's therapy. We not playing small no more. Closed doors, now we kicking doors. Red flags, we see them clear. No more settling this year. Talking love with boundaries. heavy, but we steady. Vision sharp, we stay ready. Manifesting bigger rooms, breaking cycles, shifting moons. No more chasing validation. We the blueprint, we the foundation. Boss talk, clear conversation. Mindset transformation. Single, cool, taking cool. Standards high, golden rule. Peace first, that's the jewel. We don't play the fool. Move your body if you leveling up. Move your body if you done with the bluff. Move your body if you choosing yourself. Self-love worth more than the world. Say it loud, unfiltered. Say it proud, unfiltered. True talk, unfiltered. Growth talk, unfiltered. Yeah, unfiltered energy. Building legacy. Real talk therapy. That's Yonnie's specialty. Unfiltered energy. Own your identity. Mindset wealthy in life intentionally.